Well, we had quite an exciting day yesterday, as most of you know, I'm sure. Uh, with a little forensic work, we figured out that one of our neighborhood bears took out our internet cable. In the forest just to the north of us, our internet service comes down a utility pole, and this happened to us last year, twice in 1 week. So if I suddenly disappear from your screens now or in the next day or two until we can get the company to help us do something a bit more robust, that's the most probable case. So I think last year it happened. They came and they fixed it, and maybe 2 days later, he came back and climbed the pole and ripped our cable down again. So I don't think it's anything personal. It just seems like he likes climbing the utility pole, and his little claws get stuck in our cable. So, but we managed to figure that out. But still, the technology didn't help us join the Portland Friends of the Dhamma 20th anniversary gathering yesterday, which we're really sorry for. We did manage to catch some of it, and we were online and kind of ready to go, but somehow things didn't work. So congratulations to the community in Portland for putting that on yesterday. It was wonderful to see all these different submissions from various monastics, monks, nuns, and lay teachers, and photographs from over the years. Certainly Sakula and a handful of people, Barbara, Chris, a handful of people, and their efforts 20 years ago have borne great fruit to bringing monks and nuns and great lay teachers to Portland and building a home for the Ajahn Sangha in Portland. They're definitely on the map. And I felt a real sense of mudita seeing Lumpur Samedo and Ajahn Sucitto and Ajahn Viradamo and Ajahn Tanisro and Lumpur Pasano and Aya Santusaka and Debbie Stamp, and sending in their well wishes and greetings to the Portland Friends of the Dhamma. So, and our regrets that the technology didn't work out, and myself and Ajahn Kriyadamo, who was sitting right here, our regrets that we somehow weren't able to share that yesterday. And then we had the first of a 6-part series on the Jhanas from Ajahn Sona yesterday, which is lovely. And if people are new here, having seen that and come here to hear some reflections or ask questions or share your own feedback, welcome. We do this every morning. This is an informal kind of coffee time in the tradition of what they call in Thai Sontanatam. So it's a very common way to draw near the Sangha, and especially senior monastics, to ask questions and to listen to reflections and teachings. And it's one of the primary ways that Dhamma is communicated and shared between the monastic community and the lay community, but also between monastics. So it's a strong tradition of making the effort to go visit monasteries and senior monastics, and generally, if they're available, a senior monk or the senior monk will receive one, and you can pay respects, and then there's this opportunity to have an informal exchange. So, and this thing we do every morning, which I call morning coffee, is in this time of pandemic, is an attempt to create that point of contact so that we can nurture our Sangha and nurture our friendship in Dhamma. And a traditional role for myself as the senior monk here at the Hermitage is to be a Kalyanamitta to people in the community. So, and via the technology of YouTube, it gets shared out a little more broadly than people who can actually come to the Hermitage. So anyways, how is everyone this morning? Let's see, we got 109 people, so maybe there are a few extra people who are new to this today. I'm going to have a hard time following the chat, so if people do want to catch my attention, put at and then start typing PAC for Pacific, and then you'll see a little pop-up. Click on that, and that'll put our name in there, and it will highlight that for me. And then you can get my attention that way, or either to ask a question, or if you'd like to share some appreciation for Ajahn Sona's talk last night. So that's going to be the theme for today and maybe tomorrow if people are interested. So I didn't manage to watch the full talk last night. I waited till early this morning when my mind was fresh and clear. And if I was hired to write one of those blurbs, I would say 5 stars. Lovely. It was lovely. Very beautiful imagery, and just the whole tone and the encouragement to these beautiful states known as the Jhanas that Ajahn was reflecting on in that first talk was very nice. I think for me, one of the standout features came really early in the talk, where Ajahn talking about confidence and just the importance of having confidence that these states of mind, while they are special, they're not so foreign to us as human beings. And a foundational piece in being able to develop and experience these is having confidence that these are part of the domain of human experiences. Human consciousness includes these states of mind. And this word confidence sometimes is a translate for faith, but some people feel a little more affinity for this word's confidence. And I've seen this over my life as a monastic. I've known many monastics, and I've heard them express a lack of confidence. Maybe this is for others, but not for me. Maybe this is, and I've even heard maybe this is more accessible to the Thais, having grown up in a different culture with different sort of circumstances, but not for me, having grown up in Europe or America or in the city and not the country, being overeducated. Maybe my mind just can't move to that beautiful simplicity that the Jhanas are described to be. And that becomes an obstacle. That becomes a profound obstacle. And we have to start off from a place where we believe that it may be possible. And I think it takes even more than that. I think it takes a kind of confidence that this is a natural opportunity that we have as conscious beings. This experience of the profoundly serene and lucid warmth of the jhanas. It's not personal. It's not bound by even the various conditions of your life. It is supported by various conditions, and one of the primary ones is you need to have confidence that these states of mind are possible, and that they are possible for you. Practically, they might not be possible today or next week or something. but they are possible for you as a conscious kind of human being. And when you get there and when you taste it and you have some confidence that that is what you are tasting, you'll realize, although it is a superlative experience, that it isn't completely foreign to your experience as a human being. You have had experiences like this, near this. So, uh, so that's something that we should investigate as human beings, and should investigate as practitioners. Uh, it can be very, let's say, tricky to know for certain what one is experiencing in their mind, and if it's the same as what someone else is expressing, especially something that is so profound and exceptional. I don't want to say unnatural. You can say supernatural. Like it's not something that people are accidentally experiencing all the time. Um, so the mind is just an incredibly subtle, vast, powerful, unfathomable sort of thing. So it's a little difficult to know if your experience is the same as what's there in the books or what Ajahn Sona or other teachers kind of describe. And oftentimes um, this can cause doubt in people. So both in the willingness to even embark upon studying and applying effort in your practice to realize these sort of states, one needs to start with this grounding that this is possible, at least as a hypothesis that one has faith and confidence in, and that is it is possible for you. And then as one explores developing this side of the practice, one needs to have confidence in one's own experience. So, and it gets a little tricky, but there are, if one sort of studies the teachings that are there in the suttas and listens to good teachers, and in particular, I think the stories, the images, the analogies that are there in the suttas give you a good enough description of what it is you should be seeing, the kind of scenery along the way, the atmosphere that's cultivated in the mind. And I'm sure Ajahn will be going into that in sort of subsequent talks, but for my own reflection today, I really want to underscore that sort of first point. And if you didn't catch that, go back and listen to that. That's the very place that he sort of begins before kind of launching off into some other sort of very beautiful and encouraging reflections on the nature of this and how the Buddha gets there. How it's, I love how he talks about it as humanity itself. Like the Buddha in his own story is moving away from this self-mortification and asceticism towards this very human way of being with his consciousness. So, and then the reflection on how it's related to this wholehearted state of loving the breath, loving the present moment so much and so wholeheartedly, is a wonderful way to sort of think about that. So that's what sort of stood out for me, listening to this talk this morning, and quite interested to see what other people sort of liked and appreciated. More technical note, I thought it was nice to Dantika and Meta and the team up at Birkin did a wonderful job producing the video. There's very little Ajahn Sona imagery in it, so it's like a nice visual complement to a beautiful talk. So, and I see Dantika's here today, so Dantika, I hope you didn't mind me borrowing your sky. So I actually thought maybe this morning would be nice to have the sky just behind me the whole time, but it could also be distracting. Okay, well, let's see. Where are we at? Good morning, Scott. Ajahn, is it skillful to bring up happy memories to frame the beginnings of a meditation? Absolutely. One needs to energize the mind, cultivate joy, and really doing almost anything sort of skillful or pulling upon various skillful means to create wholesome conditions as a starting point for meditation, I think is very important. So, if even if you just feel, sometimes I tell people, try taking a shower before you meditate. Try going for a jog before you meditate. Try cleaning your room before you meditate. If you have a shrine room, a place you sit, like don't just go in there and sit down and start trying to hammer away at the breath. Do some things that uplift the mind. And then I'm oftentimes encouraging preliminary meditations as a way to prepare the mind before it kind of launches into its meditation. And bringing up happy memories is a good thing. Reflecting on generosity, even recollecting peace is one of the anusatis, like is one of the forms of meditation. Just recollecting peace, recollection of the devas is even another one. So there's anything sort of skillful to help building positive conditions of mind. And energy and joy are very important in the process of developing and moving the mind towards these states of serenity called the jhanas. They are energetic states of mind. So, all right, scanning down here. Let's see. Good morning, Cher. So yeah, this kind of fits nicely with my own sort of sense of the talk. Helpful to have the advice, be confident and not give an opinion to yourself whether you can or cannot do the jhanas. Try and confidence. Indeed. Sometimes I think of it, it's just natural. It's just the physics of the heart, if you will. Good morning, Sumana. Suggestions regarding joy in times of deep personal sorrow would be appreciated. Well, if one's facing deep personal sorrow, a couple of things I suggest, because it can be it's very sticky. So just trying to deal with it um, mentally, alone by oneself, sometimes is not necessarily the best strategy. Um, especially if me, you, thoughts of self are very much kind of bound up in the sorrow that one's kind of experiencing. So mentally, one might want to direct more attention um, to teachers, inspirational figures, um, external acts of kindness and generosity, patience. Uh, but something I don't think maybe that gets enough consideration is um, getting kind of proactive into practicing generosity and doing good things for others, even small things. Um, so not isolating oneself, and it's extra challenging in a time of the pandemic, but there still are all kinds of opportunities to engage in service. Like someone I was talking with the other day is doing various things, including helping out at one of the local food distribution centers. Um, and there's all kinds of people doing amazing service, sometimes even at great personal risk. And, you know, maybe there are things that one could be doing physically and giving um, small and big ways to help create new sources of joy based on service and generosity, and also puts you in touch, like in physical kind of proximity, so that you can witness the goodness that's being done by others. Um, and then one wants to be kind of vigilant to be focused on that. There can be this sticky tendency that all the hindrances have, and that all the afflictive mind states have. Um, there's a part of us that gets sucked in and attached and wants to hold on to and even wallow in uh, these afflictive emotions. And so one needs to be very vigilant about what one gives their attention to um, when you're in that sort of situation. So it's a few thoughts for you there, Sumana. Let's see. Good morning, Holly. Let's see. At the end of Ajahn Sona's talk, I liked and worked with bringing up the memory of a happy place. This mainly served to reinforce that happiness from external sources is fleeting. Some of that is what I call accidental happiness. It's like the circumstances of our life and the world um, afford us um, feelings of comfort and pleasure. And that's all nice and good, but we really want to develop our skillfulness in learning how to create our own happiness. And it's kind of a spiritual faculty or spiritual muscle. And, if we're living in a good way, happiness shouldn't be so far off. So, if we are treating ourselves and others right, have practiced generosity and are practicing generosity and keeping good sila, have good virtue. Happiness shouldn't be so far off. Let's see. I didn't see this before, Sumana, but I see your follow-up now here too. You got caught in loop. Memories of joy brought me to my babies, and one grown child in distress right now, so it become tears rather than joy. Yeah. Well, one just needs to, find a way to then skillfully kind of redirect oneself. So, good morning, Marilyn. Does the discussion of Jhana often move off into conceit sometimes? I got it, you don't, and then desire to. It can. I mean, that's not a very skillful way to kind of relate to it, but that's sometimes where people go because we're so well versed in thinking of things through the frame of self and others, me and my, and in alignment with where I started off reflecting on Ajahn talk. I think that's why it's really good to sort of have the confidence that this isn't a personal quality. It's something we can experience, and it's not about me or mine. In fact, those things are profound obstructions to the development of these states. Even very kind of subtle things like, sometimes the mind can be moving into sort of serenity, and there's still this agent that feels like it needs to kind of control the experience. We still haven't gotten to this place of ease where we're wholeheartedly just absorbed and enjoying the breath, let's say, if that's the object of our meditation. There's still this sense of agency. And oftentimes, coupled with it, you can sense is a kind of desire that isn't purified. There's still tanha there. There's still a little craving. It's kind of craving for something good, but it's not quite right. And that's creating a dissonance or an impurity in our efforting to kind of move to these beautiful sort of states of mind. So, oh, good morning. Zola. You sent me pronunciation of your name, and I haven't practiced it for a while, but good to see you again in the chat. Happy Monday. Do you know if one can experience jhana in their sleep, in a dream? I don't believe so. But I have many times in a dream, I've started to meditate, and it's pulled me out of sleep and woken me up because the meditation starts to be like generate a certain kind of energy, and that pulls me out of the dream state, and then I wake up and I meditate. So my answer is going to be, I don't think you can experience jhana, but there are some interesting things that you can experience in your sleep, and but my general understanding of sleep is like the mindfulness isn't strong enough for us to really experience jhana. So we can experience things that may feel like jhana, but as we all know, there's a lot of delusion going on in our sleep. We think things are happening and it seems all very real, and it's not. So, but many times I've experienced meditation in sleep, including very blissful sort of meditation in my sleep, and then occasionally it's uh, it's woken me up. So. And one more time, Sumana, I just want to reinforce this. Physical activity. Physical activity can be very good when in the grips of some sort of afflictive emotion, um, and even as a way to deal with the hindrances. So there's a lot of restlessness in the mind. Like there's times where you just can't overcome it through doubling down on your meditation. You might need to get up and do something to break that. So in Thailand, there's always an endless amount of sweeping of the leaves. Leaves fall year round in the forest where I ordained at Wat Pananachad or in Ubon. And there was always paths that could be swept. And there's sometimes where be walking and sitting meditation, and I just couldn't get the mind to sort of settle down, couldn't overcome a certain amount of the restlessness. And then I just pick up a broom and go out and sweep a long stretch of the path mindfully, not just kind of letting the mind go, but just making that my meditation. Sweep, 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 sweep. And something about the simplicity of that activity and the movement and doing something helpful or useful that would shift the conditions and then kind of come back and make another go at it. So mind, breath, and body. These are three things we want to, three tools, three things that we leverage, and you don't want to neglect any of them. So I always think of them in a hierarchy. So it's like mind is the most powerful and most effective, breath middling, and the body is a more coarse thing, but all of these have a very intricate kind of relationship. And so by using them, manipulating them, engaging them in various ways, we can change our state of being. So, all right, well, we are kind of getting on here. So I'm going to take one last question today, and people have other questions or thoughts. We'll come back at it again tomorrow. I'll give a little more space for this. This will be kind of our go-to theme for a little while as Ajahns rolling out these talks. And similar to when we were doing the retreat in May, I don't want to get too far ahead of Ajahn, and just to give some guidance to people. Keep it practical, keep it personal. So there's a lot of debates and theories and stuff like this about these states of mind, and I'm not all that interested in that. So some of that I might be able to address. I'm more interested in what we can practically do to make efforts to create the conditions so that we can all experience these states, and maybe in weak forms at first, middling forms, learning how to sustain them, and ultimately becoming adept in experiencing the serenity of these states of mind. So I'd like to say it's your birthright. Okay, so one last question, and we'll be out of here for today. Gabrielle, Ajahn, can you take a look at Jacob Elliott's question about ceasing in Jhana? Jacob Elliott. Here we are. I have a question about things ceasing in jhana, the breath, perception, feeling. Does this mean that they literally stop, or that they stop being appropriated, or clearly seeing that they happen by itself? Most of what one will experience in terms of things ceasing in a very serene mind state is just the mindfulness is not keeping up with the subtleness of it. So the breath in particular can become very subtle as we move into a state of profound serenity. And the mindfulness sometimes can't keep up with or apprehend the breath. And I've experienced this many times, and I've talked to people over the years. Many people have experienced this. Sometimes when that happens, we get a little panicky. We think that we've stopped breathing, or we wonder if we're in any danger. So, but as one learns how to receive that experience and just trust in the meditation, one can kind of go through that. And so various things arise and sort of cease. Oftentimes it's just they're so subtle that the mind doesn't fully apprehend them. So in very deep states of meditation, more and more ceases to enter awareness, because the mind is so absorbed in particular feature of consciousness. But many people do not have those super deep, profound experiences. They're considered to be exceedingly rare. So the more common thing is the breath gets subtle and disappears, or the sense of the body becomes very subtle and disappears from consciousness, or isn't apprehended. So, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. We want to be moving the mind to this kind of wholehearted, loving simplicity of the sign of our meditation. So, all right. Well, I'm glad the internet's working, and hopefully the bears will pick at the blackberries or the cherry trees or something else other than our utility pole today. And we'll be back for evening puja tonight. One announcement there for people that join us for our morning and evening pujas: we're going to be doing some of the cardinal sutras again. So the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, the Anattalakkana Sutta, and the Adhitaparayaya Sutta for a little bit. So I'm going to return to some of those sutta chantings. So all right, be well, friends, and have a good day. Bye for now.